Hey everyone, appreciate you taking your time today to join us. I'd like to start off with some introductions. My name is Josh Arist. As a Division Director for Finance and Accounting Permanent Services team at Robert Half Canada, I work with candidates in Calgary and the surrounding areas. Prior to Robert Half, I was working within the commercial finance industry where I worked directly with finance lenders and business owners to acquire capital for projects and equipment. My fitness and health science background has allowed me to emphasize the importance of coaching and team building, which became an asset while I was recruiting, hiring, training, and building successful retail sales and operations teams throughout Alberta. I joined Robert Half in 2018 as a recruiting manager at our Calgary branch. 2019, I became a division director, and here in 2021, I'm excited to say I'm doing my first webinar. And now I'll let my co-host Lisa introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I would also like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us in this webinar today. My name is Lisa Doe. I am a financial recruiter here in the Account Temps division of Robert Half. Here we assist individuals with temporary accounting and finance positions based on the needs of our clients. I work in a team with collectively over 35 years of recruitment industry experience, supporting clients and candidates with the job market and current hiring and compensation trends. Today, we would like to cover some topics regarding your job search and the direction of your career. We want to have a better understanding of our audience. If everyone can please prepare themselves to answer the first live poll question we have on this slide. Please choose your answer, and once the text box appears on your screen there, we'll share the results, and then throughout this presentation, we will have a few other live polls as well. So on to the first question, which of the following best describes your employment status? Are you employed in a permanent full-time role, employed in a permanent part-time role, employed in a temporary position, or currently unemployed?
All right. So I do see that there's some individuals that are either working permanent part-time or full-time. And then I do see the majority right now were unemployed. So if you're currently unemployed, both Lisa and myself can be resources if you don't already have a Robert Half point of contact. Our account temps team can assist you with temporary work while you're searching for that permanent fit. The contracts that we have available are a fantastic way for you to supplement your income and keep your skills relevant while you're looking for that desired career path. The same applies to the individuals working with Robert Half technology. After this webinar, if you do not have a point of contact, we can provide you one. Today, we're talking about your careers. My goal for everyone in this webinar is to become more confident in themselves, begin to evaluate their career paths, and make changes needed to achieve those goals. We have a time scheduled at the end of this presentation for questions. So if you do have questions, you'll see in the bottom of the Zoom box there's a question and answer box. Please don't ask any questions in the group chat as they'll go unanswered. We'll have a lot of time hereafter to answer any questions. And if we do for some reason miss, we will send an email and follow up to discuss those questions further. So we all have responsibilities, family, friends outside of our careers. We're going to provide you with some useful tips, strategies to be happier and excited about your careers. Everything we're going to discuss today in these slides is simple, but don't confuse simple with easy. When I say simple, it means hard work, planning, persistence, and willpower. Once you've made the plan and you have a proper schedule, then it becomes simple. You just follow the plan you laid out. To be successful, you need to evaluate yourself and your career. This means being honest with yourself and your strengths and weaknesses. On to our first slide, we're talking about evaluate. You need to take a step back and take time and ask yourself a combination of questions about your career, the path you're on, your personal responsibilities, and life goals. The first question I want you to ask yourself, are you happy? I want you to think about your career path. If you're currently employed, are you happy working for the organization that you're in? And is it a great work environment for you? Do you have the work-life balance you need? And do their values match yours? If you're currently unemployed, what industry and what organizations share the same values as you? What types of environments are you going to be most productive in and have a happy career? The second question I want you to ask yourself is in 5 years, will you be happy? This question, I want you to think, in the next 5 years, are you confident that if you're on the path that you're on today, that you'll be happy with your career, your position, and the organization you work for? What career path will make you happy? If you could change your career path right now with zero obstacles, what would it be? Can your current employer provide this? And what organizations can offer this to you as well? What skills do you need to improve and learn? And this is where you want to be truthful with yourself. Create a list. If you're unsure and need guidance, most of you have a point of contact at Robert Half. Reach out and they'll have great advice and definitely suggest resources and other things that you can do. Now, I think the most important question here is, what do I do with my free time and is it necessary? Think about the small daily habits you have. Look at the things that you repeat every day and fix them. These may seem trivial, but when you break it down, they constitute much of your life. Everyone requires balance in their lives and downtime. We want you to start being conscious of how you spend all your free time. Ask yourself, is my free time helping me now or in the future? These questions will take a lot longer to answer and more time than we're spending today. I'd suggest reverting back to them after this webinar. Evaluate yourself, your career path in a little bit more depth. Our next slide is a quote by Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Now that you've evaluated yourself and your career, you need to make a plan on how you're going to get there. This quote's one of my favorite quotes because it reminds me of what my father used to say to me when I was a kid and I was complaining. If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. It's pretty simple. If you want to change your career path and improve yourself, you have to make changes and follow through. You can't expect to become an expert in Excel without taking the right classes or tutorials in person or online. Now, who here has had a stressful morning before work? The morning that you wake up late, you lose track of time, you rush to get into the office, and you don't have time to get Starbucks or your Tim Hortons. I want you to think about how the rest of that day went. I bet it was stressful, long, unproductive compared to a normal day. The opposite can be said if you wake up early, stretch, be active, plan and prepare for your day. You'll be much more confident and productive, and the day will fly by. Our next slide, we're going to talk about actions that you can take at home. These actions will help you keep your ideal career path and help you optimize your day. So the first one I want to start talking about is how you start your day and starting it properly. Evaluate your day. What can be realistic? Start looking at outside factors, children, pets, roommates. The list can go on. If your goal is to be healthier and you have children you're taking to school, going to the gym before work isn't possible, but a realistic goal could be stretching for 45 minutes while listening to a podcast at home. The second is plan and schedule activities in your free time. Scheduling activities during the evening and weekends will hold you accountable. It's very easy to stay at home and Netflix and chill after a long day of work. Try using your calendar on your phone, your computer, your iPad, your iWatch. We have so much technology that's available to us right now. Use that to plan your day and optimize it. The third thing I want to talk about is networking. We scroll through online. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're using sports app, news apps, and we're not being mindful of much time we actually spend on our phones. You can download a usage app that will actually monitor and track this for you. But networking is a great opportunity for you to meet like-minded professionals online, boost your career profile, and join groups to expand your network and stay in the know of your field. The great thing about these groups is that it keeps your finger on the pulse. And I'll give you an example. You have a group of payroll professionals who get together on LinkedIn. They post about certifications, tax code changes, or so on. Lots of groups like this exist for special niche markets. Now, we'll get into how to end your day. So ending your day properly, it's just as important as starting your day. If you aren't fully rested, you won't perform at your best. If you start your workday at 8 a.m., when 8 p.m. rolls around, start to ask yourself, how important are these tasks I'm doing? Am I still being productive? And if I went to bed early, would it negatively affect me? Once you've answered these, then make a decision on when you're going to end your day. The fifth and final one, be mindful of your time and your schedule. Block times. If you want to read, stretch, listen to podcasts, walk, hike, the list can go on. Block and schedule any value add activities. If you have children, be active with them and bring them on these positive events. But remember, you need to leave the right amount of time in between these events. Set yourself up for success by managing your time and setting realistic expectations. Adapt your schedule and accomplish your goals. So right now we're going to look at an original schedule versus the improved schedule. Now, what I would suggest is writing out your current week, look at it start to finish, and break down the day and hour. Now look at the time that you can control and what are the activities that you're doing. Be realistic and remember to focus on incremental changes and gains. A few small changes can give you that time you need to learn or improve new skills, live a healthier lifestyle, and become more satisfied and excited about your career path. It's time to take some changes to these activities throughout your free time. Here's an example of a normal schedule. And if you look at this, this actually represents my November 2020 schedule. I decided that I wanted to change the way I started and finished my day for 30 days. And I can tell you that I've kept this new schedule since. I found that I'm more productive in mornings than evenings. And I found that removing an hour and a half of watching sports during the week and 4 hours on the weekend would give me an extra 11 and a half hours to learn these new skills that I want and achieve the career path that I desire. Our next slide, we're going to talk about actions that you can take at work. So first, plan your week before it starts. Take the time, whether it's Friday evening, Saturday, or Sunday, to look at what you need to complete for the following week and plan it out. Now that you have a plan, you'll want to schedule tasks based on importance. We all have day-to-day duties. Look at the tasks you can control. If it's a priority or if it can wait later, organize those tasks so that you don't feel rushed in completing them. The third thing would be create a checklist. This will ensure that you complete all your tasks in the day. And if you don't complete those tasks, you're able to transfer them to your plan for the following day. Checking emails at designated times. Emails can be a distraction. Unless you're expecting urgent email that needs a response right away, choose a designated time and stick to it. This will ensure that you're more efficient in your other duties. Group similar tasks. This will help you be as efficient and as effective with your time as you can be during your day. And finally, the most important, take a break. Breaks allow you to relax, breathe, clear your mind, and they've been proven to increase productivity and reduce your stress. Now, we have another poll question for everybody here. And the question, have you ever made a New Year's resolution that you didn't follow through with? No, I always fully commit to my New Year's resolutions, or yes, despite my best intentions, I don't follow through. And we'll wait here for the results. And now if you're anything like me, you'll be hitting yes, because my Spanish no es bueno. Learning Spanish was a 2019 goal of mine, and I haven't completed it yet. So it looks like 56% don't set resolutions, and 26 do, but don't follow through. So the ones that do, I'm very impressed with your commitment. And if you said yes, I'm sure you had the intentions of completing these resolutions and had an end goal in sight. This next slide will give you the tools to help you set goals that are attainable and that allow you to plan a realistic timeline to track and achieve them. Setting SMART goals. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. When you look at specific, we want you to think about what do you want to accomplish? And as an example, I'm going to use an individual who is a beginner and expert that wants to become, or a beginner in Excel that wants to become an expert. So when we look at this, who is involved? That individual may be an instructor. Where is it going to be done? It's going to be done online or it'll be in class. And why are you doing this? And the reason is you want to grow in your career and move into that senior accountant role and possibly move into a controller role. Measurable. Can you track the progress and the outcome? And the answer is yes. You'll have modules, you'll have tests that you have to complete and pass. The third, we want you to think about if it's attainable. And we want you to be able to set reasonable goals. Yes, average time to go from beginner to expert is 150 hours of hands-on experience and learning. You need to make an educated decision on what time frame that is going to be to make that attainable. Realistic. Be honest with yourself. Don't forget about your hurdles that you need to overcome. Understand your environment and the time you actually have to invest in your goals. And finally, time. Set a timeline for your goals, whether it's month, day, year. What this will do is it'll help you establish a sense of urgency. It'll also allow you to track your progress and reevaluate your timelines when you first start. Because the most common mistake, and one of the mistakes I made when I first started, was trying to combine too many things in too little time. Now we'll move into trending skills with Lisa.
All right, thanks, Josh. So the world is constantly changing, and companies are expected to be versatile to the evolving market, which often leads to the need of an organization to reassess their internal structure and present their staff with new opportunities and positions. By adjusting your mindset, welcoming change, and learning new skills or adapting your transferable skills, you can challenge yourself to grow and potentially open new doors of opportunity in the future. As companies continue to move away from the manual processes of the past, a candidate's software experience can be very relevant to an employer. Some organizations will use their own proprietary software, and others will use the more generic products that are available in the market. These more commonly used products often come in a variety of versions, tailoring their lines to certain companies and industries. Therefore, it's beneficial to specify the exact version of a software that you've previously used. For example, with the Sage accounting products, Sage 50 is often used by smaller businesses to maintain their records, whereas their Sage 300 line targets industries like construction and real estate, designed for larger companies with more complex transactions and reporting. While companies adjust to the more electronic practices, they may assess the need for new software upgrades, which often ties into streamlining and automating their processes. If you've had exposure to these special projects, it's valuable to make mention of that, as it could be very appealing to an employer who may have future plans of reorganizing their operations. Automation can also lead to an organization's decision to restructure their internal teams, assessing areas where they're able to combine certain positions together or create new ones altogether. Lately, we've been seeing some common trends in specific roles and industries that we would like to share with you on this next slide. Trends in positions and industries can fluctuate based on the time of year, the economy, and the overall state of a company. Within the accounting industry, we are seeing a trend in payroll positions, accounts payable and receivable, junior to senior level accountants, reconciliation specialists, and hybrid roles. Further to the previous slide, employers are beginning to assess the fusion of various roles, which we would classify as a hybrid role. So, for example, having an accounts payable administrator begin to take on additional responsibilities, which may include receptionist duties or actively be involved in their procurement functions. Our office team division has seen an influx in administrative roles such as executive assistants, human resources, property administrators and managers, as well as legal assistants. And then finally, in our technology division, we have been seeing a trend in DevOps positions, software engineers, front end developers, API developers, and application support. Although Alberta is predominantly known for the oil and gas industry, we are seeing a progression in the healthcare industry, logistics, construction, information technology, and property management and development. Regardless of the industry, companies have been through a year of adapting to change, from transitioning their operations to a remote capacity with minimal notice, to reassessing their hiring practices to adjust to the more virtual world that we live in today. On the next slide, we will discuss some hiring changes companies have made over the last year. Many companies in Canada, because of the pandemic, have made significant changes to how they are hiring and recruiting talent. As a result of the pandemic, companies were forced to revert to a remote working environment, which may potentially lead to companies reassessing their internal positions and identifying areas where they can warrant a remotely based position going forward. 33% of Canadian companies have shortened their hiring process by conducting interviews remotely and reducing the number of qualifying interviews from 2 to 3 separate meetings with various levels of management down to 1 to 2 interviews with a panel of individuals. This compressed method can also promote an accelerated decision period. Although it's been quite an adjustment for employers and those seeking for work, it's revealed its benefits in expediting the hiring process. Companies have been conducting 50% more virtual interviews and have also been onboarding new employees remotely. As our physical interactions are now limited to remote and virtual communication, the power of first impressions has evolved quite substantially. Josh will be able to elaborate a little more on this over the next few slides, focusing on in person and virtual first impressions.
Thank you, Lisa. In-person networking. So as you network with others in person, you'll need to make your point quickly as most contacts are pressed for time, especially in these times. It may sound cheesy or overdone, but the elevator pitch is still important to have in your back pocket. Even if you never use it, it's fantastic to develop when you're coming up with your own words to present your personal brand. It should be about a 30-second pitch. And this is an insight of your personal brand. What are you looking for professionally? It's not your life story, it's your bottom line. One of the worst things you can try to do is wing it when a contact asks, "So tell me about yourself." We've all had those instances where we get tongue tied. And then when we look back at that situation, we have 100 different things we would have said differently. Don't make that mistake. Prepare. The next slide I'll be looking at, we'll be talking about first impressions, in person, and virtual interviews. Now, with remote work and an increased number of virtual interviews in the shortening hiring process, first impressions have been more important over the years. You have less than 12 seconds before someone you've just met creates a first impression of you. Princeton had done a research with two groups. Group A, who have been given 100 milliseconds to rate attractiveness, competence, likability, aggressiveness, and trustworthiness of an actor's face, had the same judgments as Group B, who were given as much time as they need. This just reinforces the small window you have to make a successful first impression. There are some aspects that can determine someone's first impression of you, things which you cannot control, such as height, facial features, etc. However, there are several areas of which you can control and become cautious of. One is body language. We want you to keep your posture where you're sitting up or standing, keep it relaxed, keep your back straight, not stiff, and shoulders relaxed. This will reinforce the idea that you feel comfortable in your surroundings. Lean in when someone's speaking to you. What that does is it demonstrates that you're actively listening, while leaning away signals that you're disinterested and hostile to the situation. Knowledge. Understand the company, understand the industry. You have so many tools to your advantage. Lisa has spoken about LinkedIn, and you also have Google available. So understand who's in the organization, what are their values, and have an understanding of what skills they need and what skills you can bring to the team. Vocabulary. This can dramatically impact your message. When you're in an interview, it's important to use verbs that precisely describe your duties and responsibilities at your current or past positions. An example would be, I did a lot of invoicing during my workday, versus I accomplished and completed high volume invoicing throughout my day. The next is appearance. You want to be well groomed, clean, and professional. One thing you want to do is keep in mind of the role that you want in 5 years. Look at the leaders in your organization or the organization you want to join. How are they presenting themselves? If you're interviewing in a casual work environment, wearing a three-piece suit to the interview is probably not the right idea. So again, understand your environment and be mindful of the area. You don't need to break the bank. Keep it clean and professional. This doesn't mean you have to spend hundreds of dollars on outfits. It just means to be mindful of what you're wearing in your environments. With the first impression, how you end is just as important as how you start. At the end of the interview, be thankful, reinforce why you should have that position. Again, that elevator pitch that we spoke about. And as we're turning into a more virtual world, the elevator pitch can be reflected on your social media account. It can be a way of virtually communicating your personal brand. And later in the slides, Lisa will address this.
Thanks, Josh. So this rolls us into our third and final live poll question. And so with this question here, we'd like to ask, what is your current status of your LinkedIn profile? Is it my LinkedIn profile is up to date and accessible to recruiters? I have a LinkedIn profile, but it requires updating, or I do not have a LinkedIn profile. All right. Okay. So it looks like majority of people have a LinkedIn profile, which is great. We definitely strongly suggest keeping that up to date, as you know, this can definitely be your first impression in regards to an employer arriving on your profile. We would like to dive in a little more thoroughly into the influence that social media has on your virtual footprint in the next slide. So, the power of social media has grown extensively throughout the years. Often, we are more inclined to monitor activities and messages on our LinkedIn or Facebook accounts than we are to read our emails. LinkedIn has become a large platform for employers and recruiters to search for profiles, and we'd like to cover some areas just to be mindful of in regards to an employer's first impression of you. Ensure your profile is accessible and complete by uploading an appropriately professional photo. Ensure your work history and dates of employment are correct, and even updating the profile summary on your account. This is where you can elaborate on your skills, your strengths, and the direction you want to take in your career. Be conscientious about populating all sections within your profile. If you have particular skill strengths or strengths listed within your work history, be sure to also hard code that information in the skills and endorsements tab on your profile, as this data can actually be filtered by an employee or an employer, sorry, or a recruiter who is recruiting for specific skill sets. Also ensure that your availability for work is clear and concise on your profile. By using applicable trending hashtags such as hashtag ready to work or utilizing the new badge feature on LinkedIn known as hashtag open to work, this will reflect that you're available and actively seeking for new opportunities. Updating your job seeking preferences and setting up job alerts. Job search preferences are typically selected when an individual initially creates their LinkedIn profile, and it may be outdated to your current job search. Setting up job alerts for companies that you're interested in working with or similar roles that you're targeting can also help you avoid missing out on new opportunities or postings. Virtual preparedness starts with your online profile, and ensuring that content is available is accurately portraying what you would like viewers to perceive. Focus on areas within your control can also alleviate the pressures of interviewing and working remotely from home, which we would like to dive in a little more thoroughly on this next slide. Video interviews have become the norm in recent years due to the convenience and promotion of a quicker recruitment process. During the pandemic, job interviews were being conducted heavily on a virtual basis, which will likely continue to be a primary method of interviewing going forward. There are several online platforms that companies are using for interviews, such as Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Skype, to name a few. Make sure that the software works well with your laptop, your desktop, or your tablet. We do recommend avoid using your smartphone if at all possible. It is important to ensure that you're testing the video and audio ahead of time on the same video platform that you will be using in the interview. Reaching out to either individuals in your personal network or even your Robert Half representative to troubleshoot any issues ahead of time. Check for audio levels, camera placement, proper lighting, and a strong Wi Fi connection. Being in a quiet room using a headset or earbuds can help eliminate background noise. Setting your camera so that it's level or slightly higher than your head can provide a more professional looking angle. Check to see that you have good lighting as well. Natural lighting works best in these instances. Ensure you have a clutter-free background or utilizing functions like blur background option on Microsoft Teams. When it's time for the real interview, see if you can log in 5 to 10 minutes before the official start time. This can help alleviate any interview jitters by establishing that your audio and video is working properly. Having a strong internet connection can promote a seamless interview, ensure things aren't missed or repeated throughout the meeting. I've actually found that utilizing an Ethernet cord for a more direct connection to my internet has made a world of difference as well. Remote work is a fairly new concept for most individuals, including ourselves here at Robert Half. Although there can be many benefits to working remotely from home, there are a number of areas to be conscious about, which can fine tune and create a better working environment and promote focus and productivity. Establishing a workplace away from your typical living area can help create an isolated environment to help you stay focused on your tasks. And it also provides you with the physical separation you may need when taking a break from work or finishing your workday. It's also very important to maintain structured breaks throughout the day as you normally would within the office. We can become easily distracted with working from home. So, time blocking your days and allowing yourself to dedicate a specific amount of time and focal point to certain tasks is definitely beneficial. Lastly, it is very important to make note of any questions or concerns that you may have for your supervisors or managers, as often they can be placed on the back burner, especially in a remote setting. Maintaining those open lines of communication allows you for your concerns to be addressed in the earlier stages before they evolve into bigger issues. Keeping in mind that this new remote transformation is not only a new learning process for you, but for your management team and organization as well.
Great. Now, I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us, and we will get into the questions and answers very soon. I just want to point out that right now you can follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And one of the biggest announcements we have is our Robert Half app. If you're a candidate, I definitely suggest downloading it and looking at it. It will allow you two things. One, it will shortlist your skill sets when you input them to roles that we're working on. So essentially, it puts you in front of site and it top listed. But also, what it does is it'll give you updates and reminders if there are postings that match your skill set as well. So definitely take the opportunity to take a look at that Robert Half app. And there are a lot of other pieces to that we offer for place candidates as well. You can do your timesheets, and we can definitely dive into that later. So now on to our questions and answers. Okay. So first question I have right now is, has compensation changed during the pandemic? And one thing I would say is we have seen salaries, they're trending to be stable. So they've stayed flat. We have not seen an increase or a decrease when it comes to roles that we are working. Uh, and that's a great sign. Uh, we do, however, once in a while see a role where it's looking for a higher skill set and maybe the compensation isn't quite there, but as a whole, salaries have stayed flat. The other question is, has the market picked up? So I can speak to the permanent side of things, and I can say yes. Now, I know on the senior side of roles, when we were looking at a senior accountant or above, we started to see it pick up at that, fourth quarter last year and moving into this first quarter. Intermediate to junior roles, so your accounts payable, uh, we have seen an increase now, and we are starting to see a demand for those skill sets. With our temporary team, they have definitely seen an uptick this year. And what they're starting to see is longer assignments that have the potential to convert to permanent. And the reason for this is right now, with the uncertainty of the pandemic, organizations want to make sure that when they do bring a new team member on, that they're able to commit full-time permanent role to them and not have to cut ties after a few months. And our next question, what are other trending industries and important skill sets? So with this piece, we actually put together a document for you. It will be sent out by our team and to all these individuals that have participated here. And it will actually have for both accounting and finance and for IT, trending industries, the top ones here in Calgary, as well as the important skills. Perfect. And the questions are still coming in. So the other question, what percentage of getting an entry level job, what is the percentage of getting an entry level job during the pandemic? It's a great question. And I would say it really depends on the individual and the organization. Right now, if you are looking for an entry level job, the best thing to do is go through what we discussed here on creating your own personal brand, your online profile, and build that network. We are seeing those entry level jobs start to roll in. However, at the end of the fourth quarter and the beginning of this quarter, it's been more that senior to intermediate, but we do see an uptick in those junior roles, and we do hear buzz from clients that are planning to add once there's a little bit more concise information on the pandemic. The next question, given Alberta's high unemployment rate, I believe second and largest, how is hiring trends compared to BC and Ontario? So one thing that I would suggest looking at is when they actually break down these unemployment rates. So you want to look at the breakdown to your actual industry in finance and accounting, where it is actually much lower than that. And what we can do is we can actually provide uh, each month, and I actually post as well on LinkedIn for these labor stats. So that's something to keep in. But Alberta right now, we feel we're trending in the right way. How can I enroll in Robert Half courses? Is there a separate website for it? So with that, you will want to speak to your individual at Robert Half, and there is. So we can provide that information to anybody on this call right now in an email so that you'll have a link and be able to connect to those courses that we allow you. And next question, regarding the app, I did download it, but could not find anything on the app. That would be something that you would want to reach out to one of us directly, and we can help walk you through that and troubleshoot. And I had a question about recruiters not coming back after the first interview. What is the reason of the performance or job availability issue? So you may be in contact with recruiters, And I would say your point of contact and your experience may be a little different depending on the line of business you're working with. When it comes to point of contact on the permanent side of things, after that initial interview, myself, my team, we would reach out when we have an opportunity that meets your expectations, both skill wise, salary wise, and career wise. If our client is able to offer that opportunity, then what we'll be able to do is talk to you and make sure that that is an opportunity you would be interested in. The next question I have, does one's location matter when applying for jobs in other cities? Yes and no. Right now, we are seeing individuals who are applying for roles where it is fully remote. Now, I don't believe the location will matter. We've worked on roles where it's fully remote and it's been in Toronto and we've placed somebody from Calgary. However, if it's just temporarily remote and there may be a plan to go back to office, that's something where your location will definitely come into play. But if you have that question and you see a posting that Robert Half has posted and it's remote, reach out to your point of contact. If we aren't able to answer that question right away for you, we'll definitely have an individual who's working with that client that can. Next question, do you recommend to make a career change or shift to a new career right now considering the pandemic? And I would say there's always going to be a reason not to make a career change. There's going to be something going on in your life that might make you think you should stay on the path that you're on. There's always a good time to make a change. And it's not necessarily tomorrow that you're going to go and apply an interview for a new job. Right now, if you're thinking about making a career change, you want to evaluate and plan how you're going to make that career change. It might be something that's not reasonable to happen for another year. But once you have an idea of what you need to do to achieve those, then you can plan. But I would say don't allow the pandemic to hold you back because great people are always needed. And companies that want great people will add them to their team if it's a right fit. The next question is, what is the best strategy to overcome or avoid age barrier for somebody with over 30 years post-graduation experience? I would say you've taken the right step right now by reaching out to Robert Half. With our clients, they don't just look at a resume. We're able to have a conversation with them and actually talk to them about the person, not the resume. So if your strategy or your plan for your career after 30 years is maybe to take a few steps back and focus more on your work-life balance, we will have clients that will match. The way that we would do that is essentially having that conversation with our client and reaching out to you when we do have that opportunity. But I would tell you with us, there won't be that age barrier. We're really focused on that experience and are you able to work with that client and does your personality fit their work environment? I hope that helped. What suggestions, if any, do you have for those looking to pivot in their career within finance and accounting in a senior to mid-level role? Well, the first thing I would suggest, evaluate. Look at where you're at right now and what you need to do to get to that role. If the question is you're unsure of what else you need to do to get to that level, that's where I'd suggest reach out to myself, Lisa, or your point of contact, and we can advise you and give you some advice to that and lead a better path for you. The next question I have, sometimes I'm a little bit overqualified for the position I am applying for. Do you see any disadvantages versus other candidates? Me personally, I don't see disadvantages of that until we actually have a conversation. Understanding the individual's career path will definitely give me and the client an insight on whether you would be a good fit for the position. Uh, One thing you may want to do is when you are looking at roles that you're applying for, is looking at the verbiage they use and looking at the verbiage you use in your resume. having something to reflect what they're looking for, still being honest and upfront about your skills will get you a more of a look from some candidates. I appreciate this webinar. Please continue these events. So I appreciate that. And the next question, the last one I have, how important is the cover letter? Should it be sent even if it's not mentioned in the job description? And I think this, you'll find there's multiple opinions on this. Uh, it's not going to hurt to add. Uh, I sometimes don't see the value if you're coming to us because we are your cover letter. We're having that conversation with our clients and we are making sure that they understand who the person actually is and not just the resume. Uh, I feel if you're applying on your own, that could be an important piece for you to be able to tell them about your personal brand and give them a little bit more insight than just a profile picture on LinkedIn. And then I do see that there are a few questions about different certifications and what they may look like. And again, that is going to be some information that we provide after this call. So look into your emails and you will receive an email from Robert Half. It may have been sent when you signed up, but it will have links for both the skills, trending industries, and any other information that we think will be suffice. And I'm going to scroll up to the top here to see if we have any other questions, but I don't see any. So I do appreciate everybody coming on. It's quarter 2, and I hope that you took a lot from this and we're able to help you with your careers. And again, if you do have any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to myself, Lisa, or your point of contact at Robert Half. We'll be more than happy to just have a conversation, and we can also give you an idea of what you're missing in your skill set or your back pocket to make that move to the next role. And thank you.
Thank you everyone for your time. Have a great day.